and he was in like such excruciating pain, and I told him, I said, I'm staying with you, I'm not going back to New York, and he's like, no, you have to, and I left, and no sooner did I leave, I got a phone call that he was in the hospital having an emergency surgery, something to do with his intestines. Now, apparently I have what he had with the Crohn's disease, but apparently it's not as bad. But who knows? I mean, it could be getting worse. And I do have a follow-up visit coming up in February with my doctor, but first thing I'm doing is calling him on Monday.
Well, the bottom line is Crohn's, is nothing to, take lightly, because the bottom line is, I mean, if it goes untreated, I mean, Crohn's can kill you.
I know.
So the bottom line is, you really don't want to doctor yourself. And unfortunately, what many people do is, they immediately hit the computer and they go to Google and they go to WebMD and they look up all these things. And I can understand you being a knowledgeable patient, but don't become your own doctor.
No, that's the thing I don't want to do, and lately I've been doing that because, again, I'm actually putting my health second because of the job, and they're great. I mean, when I go back to work on Monday, I'm getting a laptop to take home. They're setting me up with Skype because if I have to stay home from work, they're like, we'll set you up so you can, have video contact and, you can work from home. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
That's really great. That's terrific.
Yeah,
that'd be great for you. But, the other reason, Elisa, is also, you have a young daughter, and you got to take care of yourself. Because
I know.
Single parent.
And in 2 weeks is her birthday, so, I know what it's like, I have to be here for her. I take it day by day, I'm doing the best I can with myself. I know I have to put myself first now, which I've never done. I've always put everybody else first, and now it's time to put me first. And
well, they tell you, look, if you're ever on a plane or on a ship, and you have a child with you, they tell you that you take care of yourself first so you're able to take care of them.
Right.
Okay? Like with the oxygen mask or the inflatable vest, in case the ship sinks. I mean, if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to help your children. And that's important. But what I will say is I am going to say I hope everything works out for you, number one. And I'll let you share your feelings about the necessity of God in one's life with the Rev. Because
I definitely want to talk to him about that movie, because I just recently saw that movie that you were talking about.
Oh, Heaven is for Real?
Yeah, actually my daughter made me watch it. She saw it, I don't know if she saw it, my mother's or they showed it at school, and she's like, Mommy, you have to watch this movie. And I watched it, and I was just overwhelmed over it. And
I'm a very emotional person. I was crying at the end.
Oh my God!
It's amazing. It's just an amazing movie. How right that kid was, right on target. And if you go to synagogue on Saturday and you hear the rabbi, or if you go to church on Sunday and you hear the priest or the pastor. I mean, how much of this stuff do they really believe in? Today on the news I saw a story about a West Coast reverend who took it upon himself to be homeless for 2 weeks. And he lived with homeless people and he discussed with them, their situations, how and why they became homeless, what happened. And he said a lot of the things that he discovered, I mean, he would often himself, even being a man of the cloth, he'd walk right by these people and not give them a second thought. He would say, they should really get their act together. But for some of them, it was a medical problem, or it was a family problem, or it was alcohol or drugs, whatever the case may be. Everybody had their own separate and different story. and he learned to have an understanding of all these people, and he looks at them in a different way, and just like this pastor, Burpo, when he said he often questions his own beliefs, and then he talks to his son, and his son just knew things that he wasn't supposed to know. And then at the end, when, they show the girl drawing the picture of Jesus, and when he sees the picture, his little son Colton says, that's him. So you have a little girl from the other side of the world, in Europe someplace, and then you have him, and they both had the same vision of the same Jesus, and it certainly was not the Jesus that you see in the books.
Right. The little boy does emphasize that. He does say that. Because they showed him pictures of Jesus in the movie before he sees the actual picture that she drew, and he kept saying, no, that's not him.
Well, I watch a lot of these programs on PBS and the History Channel, and, what does Jesus actually look like? And the bottom line is they said, if you were to really do a study of Middle Eastern man 2,000 years ago, first of all, his skin would not be milky white the way they always portray Jesus to be. He would have a rough skin, a rough exterior, because he had a hard life. His father, he was the son of a carpenter, you know. He does put himself through a lot of trials and tribulations, which also tend to weather the body. So he wouldn't, and he would definitely have darker skin, which led one person, one investigator, one religious person, to say that he really believes that Jesus was black. Not as black as an African, but certainly dark skinned. Okay? Not the white person that everybody pictures. So, I mean, it's just amazing, and it is a children's book, and it's very simple reading, I understand.
It is. I think Samantha actually wants the book. She wants the movie too. She asked my mom to make her a copy of it. But I think she also said that she wanted to have the book to read. So I might get it for her I think I might get it for her as like a stocking stuff or something. Maybe I'll give it to her for her birthday, since her birthday comes up.
For her birthday. I think she'd appreciate it.
And with her, you never know what she wants, when she wants it.
Well, kids, they're very fickle.
Yeah. But getting back to the one thing that you'd mentioned about life and death, that emergency operation that I was telling you about that my father had, he actually died on the table. They lost him for a few minutes, and of course they brought him back to life. When I was able to talk to my father, because he actually went into a coma for quite a while, the first thing I asked him was, what was it like? What did you see? Is it what they say? Did you see a light? Did you see Grandpa? Did you see great-grandma? What? And he was like, I don't remember. I don't think he was dead long enough to really remember. I think they had him for like a minute or two.
11 years ago, I was having surgery on my knee. Felix knows the story, and I've related it, on the show quite a few times. And I was having meniscus surgery, and I went into respiratory distress. I wasn't getting oxygen for 6 minutes.
Right.
Okay, and my neurologist and one of my friends who was a teacher but also a nurse practitioner happened to say that I was lucky I wasn't dribbling my food and being in some nursing home. long-term care, not having oxygen for so long. But, I mean, I always add levity to everything, and I said, I knew I wasn't dead because I didn't see my mother. At that time, my father was still alive. I didn't see my mother. I didn't see my grandparents. I didn't see any light. So I knew it probably wasn't my time. But I was unconscious for a day and a half, So I certainly understand, and people experience different things.
Right.
In the movie, the boy felt his spirit leave the body, but he knew he wasn't dead. Okay, he knew he wasn't dead. But that was the first thing that he experienced.
Scary.
It's an awesome movie. I mean, it's written and pointed very well.
It is. It really is. It was, and it's not a long movie. It's only about an hour and a half, an hour and 40 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't long at all. I was like, I was amazed. I was like, oh wow, this is over. What do I do now?
It certainly gives you something to think about. That's for sure.
Was it a TV movie?
Yeah, I think I'm not a religious person. Never really was. I come from, I knew my great-grandmother. She died right before I turned 8. So when my great-grandmother was alive, yes, we were a little more religious. We had Shabbos at my grandmother's house every Friday night with her. She'd light the candles, she'd say the prayer. But I tend to every now and then say a prayer to God or talk to God and ask Him for some kind of guidance. Not answers, but just things that I know I can't do on my own, or I think I can't do on my own, so I ask for a little help. And I don't think that's bad. I think every now and then.
I never said it was bad. It's
I know.
Sometimes, people in general, certain people, need to discuss these things basically with themselves out loud, and then they feel that they're getting enlightenment. Okay, so is that enlightenment coming from you, or is it coming from elsewhere, some supreme being? And people will say that, it's God answering me or God showing me the way, and there's nothing wrong with that. The whole purpose behind today's show is that in the 21st century, with science doing so much and people questioning so much, do we need to have a supreme being or God in our lives every day? Most people anyway tend to turn to God only in times of some sort of tragedy, okay, or when certain decisions have to be made, But for the most part, people live their lives and they never even bring God up in discussion,
Well, keep in mind, you have so many different kinds of people out there. In the beginning of the show, you were talking about the atheists, and everybody has their different beliefs. And I believe what I feel I need to believe, or what makes me feel satisfied and good. My soon-to-be ex, he was brought up in a very strict Catholic home. He went to Catholic school his whole entire life. From not kindergarten, from first grade all the way to college. He went to St. John's and whatever. He was an awful boy. But as he grew up and started seeing things as an individual, he became agnostic. He has to have it proven to himself. Now, when we had Samantha, I told him that I would break